If you automatically analyze everything, dissecting conversations, finding patterns in behavior, questioning motives, breaking down situations into components, sure, not overthinking, paranoid, or making things complicated. Neuroscience reveals you're a pattern analyst, and your brain is constantly searching for underlying structures, meanings, and connections that others accept at face value. The use analysis isn't optional, it's how your brain processes reality. Let's talk about something that exhausts you and everyone around you. You can't stop analyzing everything. Someone makes a simple comment and you're instantly analyzing what they really meant, why they said it that way, what their tone revealed, what it implies about the relationship. You watch a movie and you're analyzing symbolism, themes, character, motivations, directorial choices. You have a conversation and afterward you're replaying it, analyzing what was said and what wasn't said, reading between every line. Nothing is simple. Nothing is taken at face value. Everything gets broken down, examined, interpreted, connected to patterns. And people tell you to stop overthinking, to just accept things as they are, that you're making everything complicated. They say you're exhausting, paranoid, reading too much into things. But you can't stop, your brain automatically analyzes. It's not a choice, it's how you process information. Here's what psychology reveals. You're a pattern analyst. Your brain is constantly engaged in what researchers call high-level cognitive processing, searching for patterns, meanings, connections, and underlying structures. Studies show that some people's brains are wired for constant analytical processing. You're not overthinking, you're thinking at a depth and complexity that others don't naturally engage in. Research from cognitive psychology shows that people vary in their tendency toward analytical thinking. Some people are intuitive processors. They form quick impressions, trust gut feelings, accept surface information. Others are analytical processors. They question, dissect, analyze, seek deeper understanding. Brain imaging studies show that analytical thinkers show greater activation in the prefrontal cortex and parietal regions associated with complex reasoning and abstract thought. When you encounter information, your brain doesn't just register, it automatically engages in multi-level analysis. What does this mean? Why is this happening? How does this connect to other information? What patterns exist? What's the underlying structure? You're not trying to overthink, your brain is designed for deep analytical processing. Here's what's happening neurologically. Studies show that analytical thinkers have stronger connectivity between brain regions involved in reasoning, working memory, and pattern recognition. Your brain automatically searches for patterns. This is what the human brain evolved to do. But your pattern detection system is more active and sensitive than average. Research shows that when you encounter information, your brain rapidly generates hypotheses, tests them against stored knowledge, looks for inconsistencies, and builds models of how things work. This constant analytical processing is cognitively expensive. It uses significant mental energy, which is why you feel mentally exhausted even when you're not doing anything obviously demanding. Let's talk about the specific things you analyze that others don't. First, social interactions. You're analyzing tone, word choice, body language, what wasn't said, possible subtext. Second, people's motivations. You're constantly asking why people do what they do, building models of their psychology. Third, patterns in behavior. You notice when people act inconsistently or when situations follow patterns. Fourth, systems and structures. You analyze how things work, looking for underlying rules and principles. Fifth, meanings and implications. You're always asking what something means beyond the surface. Research shows these are all forms of high-level cognitive processing that require significant prefrontal cortex engagement. Here's the exhaustion piece. Constant analysis is mentally draining. Research shows that analytical thinking uses more cognitive resources than intuitive thinking. While others can coast through social interactions or consume media passively, you're working constantly analyzing, interpreting, connecting. Studies show that people who can't stop analyzing often feel mentally tired even after low-stress days because their brains have been working overtime processing information at deep levels. Your exhaustion isn't weakness, it's the natural consequence of constant high-level cognitive processing. Research on autism spectrum traits shows strong connection to analytical thinking. Many autistic people are highly analytical. They're constantly trying to understand social rules, decode communication, identify patterns. Studies show autistic individuals often excel at systematic analysis and pattern recognition but find it exhausting because they can't turn it off. If you're constantly analyzing everything, you might share some cognitive traits with autism spectrum processing even if you're not autistic. Let's address the overthinking accusation. Overthinking technically means thinking that's counterproductive, that increases anxiety without producing insight, or analysis paralysis that prevents action. But much of what people call your overthinking is actually productive analytical processing. Research distinguishes between rumination, repetitive worry without resolution, and analytical thinking, systematic examination that produces understanding. You might be analyzing deeply, which looks like overthinking to others but actually produces valuable insights. Here's the social friction your analysis creates. When you analyze what people say, they feel scrutinized. When you question motivations, they feel distrusted. When you read between lines, they accuse you of making assumptions. Research shows that high analyzers often struggle socially because their processing style makes others uncomfortable. People want to be taken at face value, not analyzed. Your analytical depth can make relationships difficult because you see complexity and meaning that others don't want examined. Research on intelligence and analytical thinking shows correlation but not identity. Studies show that analytical thinkers often score high on IQ tests, particularly in areas measuring reasoning and pattern recognition. But not all intelligent people are constant analyzers, and not all analyzers are highly intelligent across all domains. Your analytical tendency is cognitive style, not just intelligence. It's about how you process, not just capacity. Let's talk about the pattern recognition advantage. Research shows that analytical thinkers are excellent at spotting patterns others missed. They notice trends, predict outcomes, see connections. Studies show this makes analytical people valuable in fields requiring pattern recognition, data analysis, research, detective work, strategic planning. Your constant analysis isn't just exhausting. It's also a powerful cognitive tool that allows you to understand complex systems. Common analyze. If you've ever been told to stop overthinking, you were just processing normally for your brain. Let's find everyone whose brain won't stop looking for patterns.